Hello, Grow New York. I'm Yael Alter, the CEO and one of the co-founder of Soos Technology. Soos is doing sex determination in poultry embryos to the benefit of the egg industry. You can see in this video a lot of cute female chicks. All those cute female chicks had a brother that exterminated just after he hatched. There are 7.5 billion male chicks every year that killed after they hatched all over the world. And the reason is male chicks are inefficient in the poultry industry. They cannot lay eggs and cannot weigh and gain the same as the broiler male. And that's the reason they're exterminated. So besides of the fact that this is a huge animal welfare problem, and there is a lot of public pressure on governments also in the United States and other places in the world, there is also a regulation problem. In France and Germany, it will be unallowed to kill the male chick by the end of 2021. And the outcome of it is the price of egg going to be very expensive in those places. And last but not less important, imagine to yourself a factory that loses every year 50% of its production. And we are talking about industry of $220 billion a year. So is it possible to change sex in birds? The answer is yes. There are many species like fish and reptiles that change their sex just by changing the environmental condition. It's already discovered in poultry specific gene that's called DMRT1. By decreasing this gene, you get a female, and that's exactly what we are doing in Soos. So this is how we scale it up. We are producing more female with the same resources. We are transforming ZZ male into functional female. We do not change the way the industry used to work. We still hatch the egg, fertilized egg for 21 days, but we change a bit the temperature, the humidity, but most important thing, we add sound vibration to the process. If you look at our competitor, to our best knowledge, none of them is doing sex determination. All of them doing sex identification, which means they take off the male embryos during incubation period. None of them is solving the animal welfare problem because they take off the eggs after day 9, and it's equal to killing alive chicks. Some of them are doing GMO, which is forbidden in the United States and other places in the world. And none of them solve the industry pain of losing 50% of the production. I think Soos is the only company that answers all those 3 questions. If we will be able to transform all 7.5 billion males in the world into female, our addressable market is about $15 billion a year. $0.50 for not exterminate the male chick and $1.5 for any additional female chick. I'd like to show you a study case of our potential customer. Our potential customer are the commercial hatchery that lay 10 million eggs a year and get 4 million female a year. The reason it's 4 million because 2 million eggs are unfertilized. So they get to a revenue of about $6 million a year in a 50-50 ratio male-female and a margin of 20%. When you get to 60%, the same as we are getting now in Soos, you get to a margin of 32%. It means all costs saved get straight to the bottom line. And with the help of the Grow New York resource, we will be able to get to 80% female and to grow to a margin of 46%. Our business model is pretty similar to Google, PPC, but of course not pay-per-click, but pay-per-chick. We want to charge for any additional female above the 50%. We believe that 18 months from now, we will be able to get a revenue of $1.5 million a year, and 5 years later to more than $100 million a year. Since we started in 2017, the first thing we did with the money we raised was to establish our own site. We want to be independent from third parties. So we built 3 acoustic incubators, a pullet house, and a layer house. In more than 40 experiments that we did, we get to a percentage of 60% female instead of the 50-50 in thousands of eggs. And in certain areas in the incubator, we even get to 75% in number of eggs where are statistically significant. We grow in 2 cycles, 1,500 layers for a period of 24 months. They all show performance the same as the genetic biologic female, with the same number of eggs and the same quality of eggs. We taste them. We developed a sensor system, currently with 100 points, and in the near future with 1,000 points. The sensor system will help us to measure what each egg hears and not just what we transmit to the egg. By collecting this data and analyze them, we will be able to improve our protocol from cycle to cycle. And I'm very proud that we signed our first pilot with outside of Israel. We signed a pilot with a company called Amadori, a company of $2 billion revenue a year. You may think that Amadori is a layer integration, but actually they're broiler integration in Italy, one of the 2 biggest. They see themselves as an innovative company. And by adopting this innovation, they want to get into the egg market in Italy. By the end of these 18 months, Amadori will be our distributor in Italy. Any startup needs 3 things. It needs capital, it needs talent, and it needs good facility. We want to create in New York region an industry standard facility, the same as we have here in Israel, and helped us a lot at the beginning of our way. Not just for us, for other poultry startups. Although New York is not the natural place for poultry startup, New York can offer good academic institute and can offer the capital. We also spoke with the academic institute in the region, with the RIT, with the University of Rochester, and with Cornell. They all expressed their enthusiasm from Soos project and the Hub project. We also spoke with Kreher Farm, which is the leading egg supplier of Wegman, and he also expressed his enthusiasm from this project. We believe that after the startups and the academic institute, the industry will follow, like the genetics company and the animal health companies. We want to match the winning price on 1-on-1 ratio, so we'll have a budget of $2 million. With this budget, we will be able to create 23 high-paying jobs. We don't want to do relocation from Israel. We want to hire people in New York region. We need biologists, we need software and hardware engineer, we need data analysts to analyze all this big data, and we need acoustic experts because we're working with sound vibration. So I'd like to introduce you to our marvelous team. We started more than 4 years ago in a warehouse at Oren Salomon Farm. Oren is one of the biggest layer farm in Israel and more than 25 experience in the poultry industry. And me, an ex-CEO of a company that built big poultry integration in Israel and all over the world. After we start to see success and we get to a ratio of more than 50-50 and even to 80% in laboratory incubator, more people joined us. Dr. Rotem Kadir, our chief scientist, a PhD from Ben-Gurion University in molecular biology, and Dr. Danny Vilenchik, PhD in mathematics from Tel Aviv University. Alon Gozlan, my right hand, our VP Business Development, that guy that lead us to the New York competition, the Grow New York competition. And last and very important, Alon Sadan, the head of the engineering department, the guy that's responsible that each egg in the incubator will hear the same music and all of them will be female. An ex-A200 officer in the IDF, unit intelligence, and more than 10 years experience in software and hardware development. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Great job, Yael. Great job, Soos. So we have 10 minutes of Q&A with our judge panel. Who's got the first question? Looks like Andrew's up.
It is me. And I'm going to apologize to begin with. I might have a little bit of a lag here. I was struggling with some technology issues right before we went on, so bear with me. This is phenomenal. I am completely intrigued by your model here, and probably the biggest question is, because this is so revolutionary, if I were to give you an unlimited sum of money, how long would it take for you to commercialize and industrialize this process?
It will still take us 18 months, as I said in the pitch, because you need to do pilot, and you need the industry to understand what you're doing, and they need to see a full process. And a full process is at least 1 or 2 cycles of hatching, which is each cycle is 21 days, and then a growth cycle. So they see that the outcome, which is the eggs, are the same ratio and the same quality as all eggs. So that's the reason we need 18 months.
Okay, fair enough. And have you reached out to the U.S. Poultry Association?
Yes, we did, Alon.
Yes. So we actually know that there's a lot of research articles about that and call for action. And one of the top priority for the U.S. Poultry Association is actually handling this male extermination topic in their call to action for this year.
And coming into the United States, what barriers to entry do you have?
What kind of barriers? That was the question?
Yeah, regulatory, permitting. Are there any barriers to entry, I should ask?
As far as we know, no. There are no barriers. But part of the 18 months is to do, and the reason we want to do a full cycle is that the veterinarian authority, because there is no regulation for what we're doing, because we don't do GMO, hormones, etc., and other problematic stuff, there is no regulation of what we're doing. And we want the veterinary authority in the US to be part of this process. So when we will do the process with the layer integration in the US, we'd like them to join this process and check that the outcome is 100% safe.
Phenomenal. I have other questions, but I'm going to let my judges ask a few because I know they're lining up to ask them as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. I think, Zoe, you're next up with a question.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for doing this. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I've seen crazy things, but this is truly, as Andrew said, we're not only revolutionary, it's almost like science fiction. So my question for you is, I'm totally blown away by this. I think this is incredible. How did this idea to use sound vibrations for basically sex reassignment, how did this even happen?
So like all good things, it by accident. My colleague Nashat, the guy that find out that sound vibration can change sex in a poultry embryo, he just find out while he observed it in his own farm. He has a small farm. He lives in the north of Israel. He has a small farm with chicken in the yard. At the beginning, he thought it's something because under an electric pole, they hatched more female. And in other places in the yard, they hatched in the regular ratio, 50-50. So at the beginning, he thought it's something that connected to electric field. But then he researched it a little bit, and it took him much more than 5 years to research it. And he understood that it's related to sound vibration. And he started with small laboratory incubator. And then he need to understand the certain epochs and the time and the frequencies that need to be sounds to the eggs. And it's not, I need to say, it's not Harry Potter issue, okay? Sound vibration, it's something known in medicine. It can actually affect cells and even change functionality of cells. So that's where the idea came from.
Cool. Thanks so much, Zoe. Next up, we have Laura Peterson with a question.
Sorry.
Hi, Laura.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I was having trouble getting myself on. So this is more of a technical question. When you normally have to divide the chicks into males and females, I assume you have to look at each one and separate them out. So after you've done this process, do the male chicks actually look differently on the outside so that you can separate them? Or how do you go about actually separating them after they've gone through this sound process?
This is the methodology of the industry, how it's work. There are two ways to separate male and female. There is the classic way that's called vent sexting. You look through the cloaca and see if it's a male. If it's a male, it has a small penis, and you can see it. And if it's a female, of course, she doesn't. And that's how you separate. But now the industry is working in a much more quicker way through feather. The female and the male have a certain way of sorting female. It's called feather sexing, and that's how you can see if it's male or female.
So after color, it's gone through this,
there is another way by color. The male are gold, and the female are more brown in certain breeds.
So what changes when after they've gone through this process of sound? Is one of those things change so that you can see the difference?
In the vent sexting, yes, definitely. In the vent sexing, you can see that they don't have the penis like. So you have to do vent sexing to see the difference after they hatch.
Okay, all right. Okay, I guess my other question you answered. I was wondering why, given New York State's not a big state for having hatcheries, there's other areas of the U.S. that have a lot larger chicken industries than we do in New York. Why you were looking to come here, and I think you kind of answered that. But would you not get some of the same benefits if you were to go to the Delmarva Peninsula or southern U.S.? What is it more specifically about New York that makes you want to come here?
We need the talents. We need the research institute. That's what we need to finalize our R&D and to improve our protocol to be super. The fact that we'll have much more hatcheries, that's nice, but that's not what we need to finalize our R&D. What we need is more acoustic expert. We need more physics. That's the people that we need. And I guess in New York, in New York region, in the academic institute that they have there, and we already spoke with some of them, we will be able to achieve it much more quick than in other places.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of my questions.
Thanks, Laura. Mary, I think Mary Shellman, you've got a few questions.
Yeah, thanks. That was so good morning. That was our afternoon. It's so interesting. And I guess so my question is, it's so interesting. Tell me about the intellectual property protection.
Okay. So of course, Soos had an IP for several things. First of all, we have an IP for the protocol, the specific protocol with the sound vibration, the frequencies, the volume, the humidity and the temperature, all those 4 things that connected to the protocol. Besides that, we protected also all physics way. So if we don't do it with sound vibration, but with just vibration, okay, not sound, but just vibration or other physics method, it also be protected. And the last thing the last IP is about the machine itself. At the beginning, we didn't thought to build or to plan our own machine, acoustic machine. It was part of our R&D needs. But since we find out that this is a super incubator that not only help us to measure sound in a better way, but also hatch better chicks, so we register an IP for the machine, also for the machine. So it's a patent. In the US, it's already granted, and we granted it in other places in the world.
Thanks, that's super. I think that's such an important part, because I think a lot of young companies, especially so clever as this, don't realize you need to lock it up fast, and then you can always then go slow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Soos. Good luck. Thank you, judges. I think we're going to call it there. Our 10-minute clock is down to 10 seconds. So good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure,
It was
really.
a pleasure.